suspects are still right behind. There was a point in time when they actually backed off because they didn't want to actually push this suspect into a situation where he was driving more erratically and at a higher rate of speed. But at this point in time, they're staying right behind the suspect, and it looks like they have every intention on staying on this. But it's dangerous. You can see that coming very close to several other cars here. We're on Atlantic Avenue northbound now, traveling up towards, if we continue, would be towards the 91 freeway. Well, we haven't seen that, although this is the second time we've been on Del Amo. So if we get back on to Cherry Avenue coming southbound, then we would have a pattern. And we see that a lot in lots of cases where a suspect will get into an area where they're comfortable or where they have knowledge of the streets. But, boy, I tell you, pursuits like this almost never end well. You've got a suspect right now that is very unpredictable driving the vehicle, driving erratically. It looks like they have no intention of just pulling over. I can't tell what that suspect in the back seat was doing there, but you don't know if drugs and alcohol are involved. You just know that the suspect does not look like he has any intention of just giving up. You know, some of these pursuits, they go slow. You see a suspect that's not driving that erratically, but in this case, we're seeing a type of behavior that usually ends up in these things not ending well. Now, we're still on Del Amo. We passed Cherry, which we were on earlier, I believe, and our speeds, as you can tell, the real-time speed tracking is just incredible for us on these pursuits. We passed Lakewood Boulevard, so we're further east than we were before. We're just north of Long Beach Airport, but that real-time speed tracking in SkyMap 7 giving us the streets is just so incredible compared to 30 years of using a Thomas guide. It's such an effective tool, and we just see a lot of erratic driving here. So, folks, if you are aware of where this is in the northern Long Beach area, north of Long Beach Airport, and your kids are out, you know, try and get them. Get a hold of them, see what you can do, because I've seen that happen in the past, and it can be so tragic. Going through what appeared to be a red light and slowing down for a moment and then going through that intersection, and that gives you an idea just how dicey it is and how desperate the driver of that vehicle is. Hour 10, maybe 20. You know, we'll have to push into that vehicle real quick. The patrol car behind behind there. It is Long Beach. They are the authority and the agency that is on this initially. There is a LAPD helicopter overhead assisting them, and but we have not seen a pattern. You know, we talked about that pattern earlier, but now we are still in the Long Beach area. We're eastbound on Del Amo. If you continue eastbound, you'll end up at the 605 freeway. Although there we see an erratic left turn, and it looks like, boy, there you go. That's the type of thing here. We have some traffic at this intersection at Graywood and Del Amo, the patrol car right behind, and you see that person in front really wanted to get out of the way, which is a smart move. And right now, hopefully, they'll get out of the car and give themselves up. But unfortunately, this type of behavior usually does not give you that type of result. And once they had a freeway to go through that intersection, they took off. Got it. To a red light. Yeah. It is. You know, the freeway's probably a good mile away from us, but that's just a good, gives you an idea where we're at traveling eastbound on Del Amo. We're actually in the city of Lakewood, moving to the eastern end of Long Beach, if you will, 70 miles an hour there. Now, this is a pretty wide street. There's not a lot of little streets that turn off onto this, so we don't have the type of danger that you would have, say, if you're in a neighborhood where you have a lot of homes. But certainly if you're going to run a red light and you're going to try and get away from police into oncoming traffic, in a situation like this, boy, it just gives you an idea how tough it is. And now a right turn onto Bellflower Boulevard, so we're headed south towards Long Beach Airport. Could put us into a situation where we have to cross the extended center line at Long Beach and not be able to continue. But at this point in time, we'll have a couple of miles before that happens. If there is a pattern to this individual, we haven't seen it. It started, we believe, around Acacia and Rosecrans in the Compton area, and we've been down into Long Beach, and now we're in the Lakewood, Long Beach area. It's right on the border here, headed southbound on Bellflower Boulevard. Yeah. Open up a bit. They may. Hey, Mark. Correct. Yeah, Mark, and I wanted to butt in there on you there. A supervisor has made a decision at this point in time to back off. So the patrol cars are no longer behind this vehicle. They just thought it was too dangerous. By being right behind this vehicle, they were pushing the driver to make erratic turns, to drive at a higher rate of speed. So they've gone into surveillance mode. They're just tracking this from the air. And, boy, that looks to be a pretty good tactical maneuver at this point in time, because we don't see the vehicle traveling at those high rates of speed, swerving in and out of traffic, but they still have a helicopter overhead. They still know where this individual is. They're still on the radio. They're making calls to let everybody, the other patrol cars, know where the suspect or suspects are heading at this point in time. And so at least initially it looks like a great call from the police department to back off from the vehicle, this car, the suspect vehicle. Well, there's some traffic at this intersection, but it's interesting. It's a 99 Honda Accord. That's the information that we had initially on this vehicle. And it's interesting as you go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, because when we were in the Compton area, went to surveillance mode. Then they actually decided to get back on it for a time. And as you mentioned, now they're just tracking it from the air. And certainly as far as exposure to injury or somebody getting hurt, that has been a good tactical move from what we've seen. The driver in this case is not trying to get away, and he's obeying most of the speed laws and the traffic laws at this point in time. But and Long Beach supervisor must have made the call that it was better to just track from the air. We're still now eastbound on Wardlow, and once again, as we head eastbound, we'll eventually run into the 605 freeway, although we have not seen the vehicle that we know of on the. Assume that the suspects realize too much into that. Maybe they don't, but it's about like they're obeying the traffic laws. Yeah, absolutely. I think if you were with us earlier, you saw how erratic the suspect was driving the vehicle, how close he came to hitting some other cars, and the speeds that the car was up to, I think well above 60 miles an hour. Even though we're 60 now, we're in an area where it's probably 45 to 50 posted here, eastbound on Wardlow towards the 605. So I think backing off, certainly at this point in time, looked like a great move, only because it looked like there was a lot of danger to the public when there were patrol cars right behind the suspect vehicle. And at this point in time, you know, eastbound on Wardlow, about the posted traffic speed and obeying most of the traffic laws, it looked like a great tactical move as far as public safety is concerned. And with a helicopter overhead, with news media overhead, with the radios that they're calling ahead to let all the officers know where it's going, which direction it is, a description of the vehicle. Even though the patrol cars aren't right behind, it's highly unlikely the suspect or suspects could get away. And they probably know a little bit more about this than we do as well. For instance, we haven't heard it stolen. So that means more than likely when they run the plates, it comes back to someone in particular they believe that's probably registered to. It's not, an absolute there because, sometimes the vehicle is stolen and you don't know it, so it's not reported to police. But if that comes back to a person who matches a description of the person who's driving, they've had patrol cars in front of this vehicle, then they'll know it's actually who it is that they're starting to chase. Now, we finally made a turn. We're just north north of Los Alamitos Airport, and actually looked like there was an indecisive move there for a moment, and the suspect was going to make a turn, and all of a sudden now just continued along Ball Road here, still eastbound. We're in Los Alamitos. We're just north of the racetrack, if you're familiar with that, and the airport itself. It looks like, I'm being told we're in Cypress, but it's right on the borderline here. From what we can tell, the aspect of backing off has been successful, as you mentioned, because he slowed down. I believe officers probably have a pretty good idea who they're dealing with at this point in time, and that may play a lot into them backing off as well. Thank you. Absolutely, and some speculation said that we probably would have known by now if it was stolen, and then of course here comes across the radio, it is now a stolen vehicle. So trying to figure out who it is based on that license plate is not going to play into this. So we believe it's a stolen vehicle. That's what we're hearing from the police department. I'm not sure which department that came from. It may have been LAPD. We just don't know. I think we're still in the Cypress or Los Alamitos area. We're northbound on Valley View, headed up now back towards the 91 freeway, and that information came from Compton Sheriff, so it looks like they were the initial agency over it. They must have known it was stolen right from the get-go. They know how many people are on board, and we're going to try and go in close here, I think, in a moment with Extreme Vision and see if we can actually get a better idea who we're dealing with. I know it's a male in the back seat. It looked to me moments ago maybe they were smoking something. It was a female, we believe, in the right front, and then we believe there was a male actually driving the vehicle, and we have patrol cars posted in front of this individual, behind, but not, we can't go back far enough with the camera, but they're back there probably a half a mile or so just in case the individual would turn around. But they're not right behind the car, and that's because of what we saw earlier in that erratic driving and the high speed. So, these things can go on forever. You wonder if the individual or individuals know that the helicopter's overhead. You just saw it in our frame a few moments ago. The LAPD ship is still the helicopter overhead that is basically following the suspect, and you would think you'd be able to see it. You'd think they'd still know that someone was tracking them, but you never know. But we do know now it is a stolen vehicle. See if he can go in tight. And climb to 3. Go to approach and climb to 3 maybe. Just looking. Keep going. We're trying to get, Mark, we're trying to get a better look of, sorry about that, the individuals inside the vehicle, if we could, through the windshield. There may be some glare. Now, we're coming up on a problem here that's going to affect our ability to track this, and Disneyland has a TFR, which is a temporary flight restriction, although it's not all that temporary, and that restricts us being able to fly at a certain altitude. We may have to go very high and get permission to do that. We're in Buena Park now, on Lincoln, headed eastbound, and once we get into Anaheim, there's an area that we just cannot fly because of that TFR around Disneyland. So that could play into this. We wanted to get in front of the vehicle, go to our Extreme Vision, and see if we could get a better idea of what the individuals inside the vehicle are doing. And in some cases, that can help us out a little bit, just to try and figure out what's going inside the car and what their demeanor and what may be going on inside their heads. At this point in time with the glare, it's a little difficult. But if it continues going eastbound here on Lincoln, we are going to run into problems as far as our ability to continue to track. Now, LAPD will not have a problem. They can get clearance to go ahead and continue to stay overhead, but all other aircrafts have to get a discrete code, and they have to go above that temporary flight restriction to continue within 3 miles of Disneyland. Westchester, that'll help. Well, that will certainly help us out. I believe if we continue southbound on Westchester, we do not have to worry about that TFR. That's further to the east, so that will certainly help. We tried to get in front and take that view with Extreme Vision and look inside the vehicle, and that was difficult with the glare. But here's a right turn. There's no patrol cars behind this vehicle. We've seen a couple of turns in the last couple of moments. I don't know if that means the suspect is familiar with this area. Maybe they're going to get out of the vehicle and make a run for it. But we're in more of a residential area where something like that may happen. We're actually close to an apartment building or a condominium complex, and it looks like there's some decision-making going on right now with the suspect that they may foot bail, which means they'll get out of this vehicle and make a run for it. You know, if they were smart, they'd probably call somebody and have another car they'd run into, but at this point in time, it's hard to tell if anything like that is going on. But they're in a specific area now in an apartment complex, and we haven't seen that type of behavior since the pursuit started. Western High School. The vehicle stopped. We are a little too steep. There they go. That looks like the driver. That is correct. You would think. I believe it's on the curb on Western Avenue, Mark. I think that's absolutely the case. I think that they went to an area they probably knew. There was 3 of them. They took off in different directions, and unfortunately, we can only take one, and we took the driver who sprinted out of the vehicle, now cutting across Western Avenue towards some homes here. And then when you split up like that, it makes it more difficult for law enforcement because obviously they have 3 people they need to track, but you can tell he's getting tired. More than likely, he can see us overhead, and it's right across from the high school on Western Avenue southbound. That's where the suspect is. Don't know what is in his hand. Let's go in tight. Yeah, I believe so. Boy, isn't that the case. I believe so. Western at Linda Cedar Lane, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe right there just coming across underneath that tree. Now, the LAPD helicopter is directly overhead of the driver. If we pull out of the shot a little bit right now, you will see the helicopter in a left-hand turn, keeping the suspect, you see him at the top of your screen there, in his sight. So we should see a patrol car coming up to this location at any moment. It would surprise me if the suspect doesn't know this area, if they just pick this area at random. I guess that's possible. And as you mentioned, once the patrol cars do move up on this vehicle, if he has something in his hands, then, boy, the possibility that a shooting could occur with police, that's a very good possibility, because obviously police at this point in time don't know what they're dealing with. It's a stolen vehicle. We know that. We know this was the driver. We know that for certain. We don't know why that vehicle's stopping, if that's someone he may have known, but we do know it looks like a patrol car is pulling up, and the suspect now is giving himself up. Absolutely. I do believe so, yeah, and it looks like with this suspect being taken into custody, we can come out of the shot a little bit and then come back to the left and show you Western High School, and then show you where the pursuit actually ended, with a vehicle stopping at least, not the foot pursuit, and then we can show you where the suspects fled from that corridor, or that alleyway, I believe right there. You see the helicopter overhead a little bit off to the right, and I think down in that, next to the overhead parking there is where it initially stopped. There it is right there. And so at this point in time, I believe they're still looking for the other two. There they are. Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's a little startling as we pushed up on that vehicle. I didn't see them as quickly. And we don't see any patrol units here. What gave it away was the helicopter, the LAPD aircraft, was still in an orbit around this, but at this point in time, they're just sitting down in front of the vehicle. They're waiting for police to arrive, and obviously they're going to give themselves up peacefully here. The driver, as we saw just moments ago, is in custody, and he's the one who's certainly going to be facing the biggest charges here. These two may not be facing any charges at all. It'll be hard to tell exactly when they figure out what happened, but the vehicle, according to Compton Sheriff, was stolen, and it looks like these two now will be taken into custody as soon as a patrol car pulls up. So here it goes. You can tell from their demeanor that the police are showing up right now, and they're doing everything that the police are commanding, and they'll be taken into custody here in just a moment. It is. Oh, thanks. I don't know about that, but... yeah, that's more like what I hear at home. Okay, honey. Yeah, we only see... I thought there was another officer there, but that's the only one? The motor officer? Wow. You got 2 more motor units coming up the street. I saw that, yeah. TMZ. Whoa. Okay. You want the license plate? I guess it's a stolen, and who really cares? But well, they're clearing the vehicle here first. That was awesome. We were just settling for a second. Oh, look at the doggy. Yeah, no kidding. Good call, man. Way to go. If anybody else didn't follow the driver, then nobody else got it. Everybody stayed over here, too. I don't know if they got it or not. 9 had it? Okay. You think? He's just hungry. Settle down, buddy. Settle down. Give you a treaty. Okay, maybe we can get some tape of them driving erratically. Okay. What's the highest you ever saw the real-time speed tracking go to? Was it 70? Yeah, okay, 65, 7. You saw 75? Okay, that's good enough for me. So this ended on, what was the name of that street? No, the one it ended on. No, the guy was taken into custody on. This is on Western, just north of, no, it was started with an L, right? The one he was taken into custody on? Okay. Why did I think it was, it doesn't make that much difference. Western High School. We're lucky they didn't keep going east, huh? Okay. That's the one that I remember seeing. Blindecita, okay. Yeah. Correct, okay. you mean? I think you can go a little further west and get them both. Just go a little further if you can. I know you got them there. I can do the best of both worlds here. I think, all right. I'd rather see the suspects and some of the vehicle. We're in Anaheim, huh, Jay? That is correct. Are we headed? We cleared back to Van Nuys? No, we have enough fuel. Cleared back to Van Nuys. Oh man. Well, shift's almost over though. That's cool. Sorry, I thought you heard me. Back to Van Nuys.